So Arkadeb, we're looking at insights on leadership from your end, right? So we have a couple of questions that we've drafted out for you. So the very first question I have for you is, what is the most difficult part of being a leader?
Well, I think the most difficult part of being a leader, there is a theoretical answer, but in reality, what I have seen leaders struggling with is having difficult conversations.
Okay.
Mostly people are comfortable to give the happy news, but whenever it is a difficult conversation, giving feedback, that's where I think a lot of people, including me, have faced, we don't want to do it naturally.
A little apprehension is always there.
Always there, right. So I think the biggest difficult part of being a leader or being a manager to a team is always giving that difficult,
the bad news
and the difficult conversations.
Okay. What advice would you give someone who's going into a leadership position for the first time?
Oh, many of them. And I think the person will get a lot of advices from all and sundry. But primarily, I would say that there is this thinking that if you are a leader, you have to tell everybody what to do, right? And I have always believed that when you become a leader, there is a distinct difference between a manager and a leader. Right? So a manager does things right. A leader does the right things. So there is this difference that the leader has to understand, that you need to facilitate people to come to a solution. That's number one. You don't always have the ownership of giving a solution. Allow people to bring a solution to you
by themselves.
And with your experience, then you can help them choose. That drives ownership.
True.
Right? Be vulnerable. There is nothing wrong that you have to be I can never go wrong, right? Be vulnerable. And one thing that really helps is having a mentor or a coach. Maybe somebody who has been in a leadership position for a long time, from whose experiences you can learn, with whom you can bounce off things. And be very open to listening. I think these are the 4 things that I will talk about.
I think you've pretty much got it. You've nailed it with that. Okay. Now, as an organization gets larger, there can be a tendency for the institution to dampen the inspiration, right? How do you keep that from happening?
By having very, very inspirational leaders.
Okay.
I think that's the only way it's possible. Because as organization becomes large, right? And it's not only about organization, it's about everything in life in typical, right? We look for standardizations. Right? So we, as an organization becomes large, the proposition is also a standard proposition.
Right.
But you and me are 2 different people.
Right.
And something motivates you, something else motivates you. That's why we have leaders in place. Because if that was not the case, then a simple algorithm will do it. So it's having those inspirational leaders who understand the team and keep that motivation and inspiration on. And different people get motivated differently. Getting that pulse and knowing how to charge people up, that's how you kind of keep the inspiration on, so to say.
Okay. How do you measure success for you as a leader?
For me as a leader, I think there are personally, I have looked at success of me as a leader with my team in just 2 ways.
Okay.
One, how much have I helped my team member to grow professionally, either by learning or by moving careers, or how successful I have made that person. Right? I think that's one big yardstick that I hold. That every month, every year, what is that new thing that you're learning because you're working with me? And what am I learning from you also? That exchange. And the second is that how peaceful and happy you are in your job. I think these are the 2 things I will use to measure my leadership.
I think those are the most important ones, rather the latter being the first. So, true. What do you consider before promoting someone to a leadership position?
Well, my view about promoting someone, I think promoting is a very generic term that we use, but for anybody to take up higher responsibilities, I think one thing that really we should keep in mind is the person able to look long term.
Okay.
Because as people grow from roles and move up, we need to decide and disconnect from execution to large impact and long-term thinking.
Okay.
Right? That what we are doing now, how do we see the future shaping up, and how can we prepare ourselves for that?
Right.
So that is what defines potential.
Okay.
And I think that is what I would look for when I am trying to give somebody a higher responsibility. Right? Okay. I think that's the most important thing.
Okay. What is the most dangerous trait in a leader's career?
In my experience of different leaders that I have seen, I think two traits are the most significant pitfalls. One being not vulnerable. Okay. Thinking that I'm not vulnerable, I don't need to communicate, I don't need to talk, I don't need to explain, I can't go wrong. That entire thing puts a lot of pressure on the person himself or herself.
True. Yeah.
Right? So that is something that's one of the biggest pitfalls. The second pitfall is not being a good listener.
Okay.
Because it has different branches to it. When you are not a good listener, you tend to be a teller. So then you would not allow your team member to come with solutions because you already have a solution in mind. Right? And you would keep telling people what to do. And that becomes an impediment for growth.
True.
Not only for yourself but also for your team.
True.
Right? And the second thing that happens, which is even more dangerous, is that you start developing this man Fridays. People who will always say yes to you, people who will work according to you, people who will make an Excel dashboard just the format that you have made
convenient
enough for you, right? Which doesn't allow you to explore more.
True.
Right?
In fact, you're restricting the other person. You're man Friday's potential as
well. So we say man Friday as a term that we use colloquially. I don't mean anything to be gender specific that way.
I get that. Yeah.
But I think that's one trait that leaders have to be very watchful of.
Yeah.
That sometimes and a lot of times I have been a party to that. Okay. In the sense that I have been in a position where a leader would only look at something which I have made.
Okay.
And I have on the other side also. Right? And I now know what is a pitfall.
Right.
Because then for one part of that job, you will only depend on one person. There is nobody else in your team whom you have prepared for it. Because you're comfortable that way.
And that's as good as digging your own grave.
Because if that person leaves, then you are in a lurch and the organization is in a lurch, right?
Sure.
So I think these are two very important things that leaders should be very, very wary about. The third thing which happens because of having this entire not listening, man Friday, all of that happening, is you lose your sounding board. You would be in the emperor's new clothes, always.
But not really being the emperor.
Not really being the emperor. People, you will not get to know what exactly people are thinking about, what they're talking about. You will have socially desirable answers coming to you all the time. And that becomes a big impediment. So I think these are the two pitfalls I would always want leaders to guard against.
Okay. Now, what do you think would be a leader's best asset?
I think the answer is right there. I mean, if you go and ask Mahendra Singh Dhoni, what's your best asset? It's a team.
True.
Leader's best asset is always his or her team.
Right.
There's nothing, but the leader has to invest a lot in making that happen.
Yeah. In fact, that's all the hard work that the leader needs to do, and everything the team is there for.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Great. Well, I think that was really a new perspective on leadership that I've got from you today. I'm sure people watching this video would also learn a lot from this, right? So thank you, Arkadeb, sharing your piece on leadership. Thanks. So, Arkadeb, we've had a really very insightful conversation. At least I've got to learn a lot from you. We've spoken about the HR industry, we've spoken about recruitment, mass recruitment, FMCG industry. So a lot of intellectual conversation is something that we've had. Now, I want to talk to you about you as a person, who you are, your likes and everything. So what we call this is the me side of me. It's a rapid fire round, so give me your answers quick on
Sure.
this one. Right. One thing you love about your job.
Helping people.
Okay. Your favorite destination.
Mykonos.
Mykonos. Okay. Your favorite food.
Lot of them, but probably a biryani.
Okay. A book that inspired you the most.
Habit.
Okay. Your role model.
Mahendra Singh Dhoni.
Okay. You splurge on.
I splurge on books a lot,
Okay.
and specifically on HR.
On HR related books. Okay. What was your very first salary?
I think it was 18,000 rupees.
In the very first job. Okay. One thing left to do.
A lot, actually. I mean, there is no end to the things
What
left.
is the number one on that list?
I think I want to learn R. So I think that is one thing that I definitely
You want to learn?
R as an analytic tool. So
Okay.
so that's something that I want to do, and I also want to play a musical instrument. So these are the two things I would put at the top of my
The top.
yeah.
Okay. I hope you start working on that now. One love.
Food.
Food. Okay. Any particular preference? Chinese, North Indian, South Indian?
Oh no, I am. One thing is certain that I am more of an Indian food fanatic that
Okay.
way, and I like cooking a lot. So,
Interesting.
but primarily I think a Bengali, Punjabi, and South Indian cuisine is what I
Is
am trying
more-
out now. Yeah,
Interesting. If not an HR professional, what would you have been?
sales
Could
anytime.
have been a salesperson. Okay. All right. The next section, I give you two options. You got to select one. Right. Twitter or Instagram?
None of them.
None of them. LinkedIn or Facebook?
LinkedIn,
Cricket or football?
cricket. It's a tough
Mahendra
choice.
Singh Dhoni.
I know, but as a Bengali, football is also very close. But I will choose cricket at the end of the day.
Cricket. Okay. Physics or chemistry?
Physics,
Okay. Movies or music?
movies,
Okay. Weights or cardio?
weights,
Books or Kindle?
books,
Okay. Early morning or late nighters?
early morning,
Okay. iOS or Android?
iOS,
Okay. Formals or casuals?
formals.
Okay. Thank you. Well, Arkadeb, thank you so much for sharing all of this information for us. I think it's really great. For me, it was really great having this conversation with you.
No problem.
Thank you so
Absolutely. I enjoyed it. Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.